Everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm doing a video today that's kind of going to be me coming clean about just how I feel about the Coof, you know, the CV19, sometimes referred to as CV1984, and just all my videos that I did about it from 2020 through 2022, and just kind of what my current thoughts on it are and how it was handled and so forth. So as anybody that has delved deep into my content library on YouTube, or, you know, even I posted a couple things on BitChute and Rumble too, but I haven't really developed those channels like I should. As anybody who's seen that knows that I used to talk about that a lot, that subject. And I've kind of had, I wouldn't say I've had a change of heart, but I've had kind of a balancing out of how I feel about it. And this is going to sound, you know, people, I hope people don't take this the wrong way, that were with me on the skeptical side. But of course, people on the other side were always on my back about how I felt. And I just wanted to say, like, I truly am sorry. This is going to sound really strange, but I truly am sorry for people that were lost as a result of that and had complications and stuff. Now, I am not going to sit here and say that I completely would defy everything that I said in the past about it, because and one major point about this, I think, that I wanted to come across with those videos and those blog posts or whatever I did, you know, Substack. I tried to Substack for a little bit, and all these kinds of you know, Facebook posts or whatever, Twitter. You know, I was talking to Naomi, or I was Naomi Wolf, and, you know, like, reposted a Twitter tweet of mine during the Coof. You know, all these people were talking about this stuff. I was talking to this lawyer that's kind of actually, she's on the right side of the foreign policy stuff, so I'm really happy to see that. Not the right side, but the side I agree with. I'm not going to say that kind of stuff anymore. Pretty anti-war and pretty you know, based about that stuff. So you know, I went pretty far into it, and one of the things, I went really deep into the rabbit hole about all that stuff, and I really believed in a lot of what I was saying. I believed in a lot of things that were happening as far as the skeptical side. Now, I'm skeptical about both sides at this point, you know, because there were a lot of grifters and stuff involved with that, like that dude from Canada, what's his name, Chris Sky, got predicting all this stuff that would never happen, you know, or Mr. Jones himself. So I'm really skeptical about some of that stuff, but the essence of it is this. So I grew up very much red-pilled towards conspiracy type of stuff. I read On the Trail of the Assassins at age, was it 13 or 14, from Jim Garrison about JFK. I read Noam Chomsky in the late 90s, you know. I got really, I mean, I wouldn't consider them conspiracy, but, you know, like, I got into the 7-Eleven as a part-time job. I'm just going to use some code words because I still have to, I think, on here. 7-Eleven was a part-time job kind of stuff, if you know what I mean, what I'm hinting at. So I was very cued into that. I also listened to a lot of Art Bell, you know, when he was around back in the day. And he interviewed people that predicted I'm going to use some code words, so just pardon me. It's called Hobo Code, according to Matt McKinley, this other, you know, this conspiracy guy that is on YouTube, Quantum of Conscience. I just use his flaying around with the words just to hide what I'm saying. What was I going to say? You know, they talked about something-demic. I'll say, just instead of a pan, a wok-demic. How about that? Like a wok, like a, you know, you can cook some Asian food. Not that has nothing to do with where it came from, by the way. You know, I'm not saying, I just, you know, pan, you know, it's a joke about pansexual and stuff. that I came up with it. I've never told in stand-up, by the way, but who knows in the future. So I was never like, you know, I was listening to all this stuff, and they were predicting this stuff was going to happen. And it was going to be like this huge takeover by the elites, by these groups. And they were talking about this stuff like early 2000s, okay? So you gotta consider this, and I've heard about this stuff for years. You know, Mr. Lizard Man himself, David from the UK, I'll just say that. I don't want to use his name because I don't know what they're doing now with the algorithms and stuff. He actually sort of predicted CBDCs on this episode in 1998 on Coast to Coast AM. So a lot of this stuff has been going around for a long time. So when the shit happened that went down, those videos that people were collapsing in the streets didn't seem right. You know, my sixth sense, and I still question it. I still question those particular videos. I question a lot of the stuff that happened. I still question the Jabba Dabba Doo stuff too, to some extent. Now, I think it's definitely, it may not be at the level that a lot of the really hardcore people are on about it. I don't know if I buy into that. I haven't done the studies myself. I'm not going to trust it unless I can verify that there is, I mean, obviously with the excess breath rate in certain countries still for various, you know, whatever. I'm trying to use code words, so just, you know, you could read between the lines. So I don't know. I'm agnostic about that part of it, honestly. People may be mad, but I've heard from both sides, and I know people that have had all the Jabba Dabba Doos and are fine. And there's people that have had none are fine, you know, which is not expected. Well, you had no jabs? Oh my God, why are you still alive? Or like me, I had one, not two, one, and that's the J&J Blue Jay back in June of 2021. The J&J Blue Jay. And that's the only one I had, okay? Never anymore, because at that point I thought, okay, it's over. Then they started to talk about these these variants of Optimus Prime, you know, of Delta Airlines and stuff. You know, they started to talk about that, and that, yeah, shit went to shit again. And I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. You know, I was done at that point because I was reading all the conspiracy stuff and all that stuff. So I was done. And I started not wearing the special apparatus that you're supposed to wear. There was only one place I didn't wear it, or sometimes I would just take it down half a notch or the whole thing. People were so apathetic at that point, they weren't even enforcing a lot of this stuff, because I went to Walgreens and Woodman's is a place here in Madison. I took a picture for a certain relative, Woodman's. Look at me, you know, because they had the mandates still. Even though they didn't have it in any other counties here. This is the only county they had the mandates from like October through March of 2 years ago. So I was sick of it. Here's the deal. So anecdotally, I can speak for myself. I don't know anybody that died personally. Maybe it's my lack of, you know, my relative small circle of people that I know. Maybe it's just, I don't know. I don't know anybody. All the people that I know of were all, you know, really old or sick. Actually, I don't know anybody that was sick that got sick. I just know people that were really old that died. Like, you know, in-laws, relatives and stuff. Like old 80s, 90s. So I don't know anybody personally that I've known that got the shit that died. So that has an effect on me. And then also, I'm going to go into this in this video because I just wanted to say this last thing about the Coof and use my green screen with the Coof on it or whatever. It's ridiculous, or at least certain types of viruses that are related to it or whatever. I don't know which picture I'm going to use right now, but you'll see it behind me. And so I didn't, you know, I was hanging out with people without the facial apparatus. Nobody else wore the facial apparatus. But this is the special part about this. People that were really militant and watched Stephen Colbert, or, you know, making, you know, talking about these Trump people going to these gatherings and stuff, were attacking people for not wearing the special apparatus. masked crusaders, you know, working overtime, you know, like the show Mask from the 80s, the special cartoon show, or toy commercial, whichever one you choose to believe it is. I mean, so there were people criticizing people for not doing it, and then they weren't doing it. A certain group of people I was hanging out with, the main, we'll just say DM or GM, you know, him and his wife were watching these shows, and I was over there. It was like, why aren't you making us do it? You know, or why aren't you doing it? You know? And this is millions of people that were doing this in every state. Doesn't matter how blue or red it was happening. But the most galling thing to me were the Democratic politicians telling people to do one thing, or you're a murderer if you don't do it, or inadvertent murderer, or whatever, and then going to the French Laundry, or going into a crowded bar with none of those facial apparatuses being worn, blah, 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 or people not jabba-dabba-doing their kids or something, all these rumors, you know, but telling everybody else they have to. So that just kind of just smashed all my trust in the government pretty much at that point. Like, I didn't trust it because at 7-Eleven it was a part-time job, at JFK and other things already. But, and, you know, weapons of mass delusion, you know, like that happened in 2002 through 2007, 8, you know, that kind of stuff. I didn't believe in the government anyways. So I still hold that opinion, right? I think there was just so much bullshit going around from all areas and angles. And I don't know, see, this is what changed with me, is like, I want to have more empathy for people that did have to suffer through this stuff. And I feel bad about it. For one, that's one thing. The second thing is that I feel like maybe there was some conspiracies going on, but I don't think it was the big thing that the New World Order is gonna, like, you know, get us with or whatever. I don't know if that's true. I'm more agnostic about it because I was convinced in 2021 that this is the end of our civil liberties, democracy, everything like that. I thought we would have to scan our everything everywhere that you had the latest jabba-dabba-doo to even go to a grocery store and stuff. And your forehead and your arm and your hand is 666, and, you know, maybe not 666, but you know what I'm trying to say. So I was really skeptical. I'm really skeptical of some of that more extreme part of the narrative on that side, and I want to be more empathetic. I want to be better about this, because there's just enough people that I've known, like even people that I used to work with. I mean, they say they lost their sense of smell for like a year, or still have problems with something or something. Now, granted, some of these people did have other problems too. I'm not going to say that, but is that an excuse really to say you should have more problems on top of that from another problem? Now, I don't think certain things worked like people said. I even have a band member now. He was always, I think he was always secretly based about it. But you know, we were practicing in 2021. We weren't wearing the Matthew Tracker's favorite thing, you know, from the TV show Mask. We weren't wearing those, right? We weren't, and we were practicing. And he had one of the other members is older, and we weren't doing that at late 2021. And I knew that he was kind of, but this guy's like a fucking like somewhat rich computer scientist, and he's like can read statistics and shit. You know, it's like it just didn't fucking work, a lot of the shit that we tried to do. And he was like agreeing with me. I'm like, I feel bad. I don't feel, like I said in my previous video, being gaslit is one thing, but when people sort of are already on the way there and then kind of come to the truth and they're kind of agreeing with me, I'm not mad at them. In fact, I'm kind of gone back on my own thing, because I do want to have more empathy for people that have faced this. There's a lot of bullshit that we don't know about what happened. Actually, that's another thing. Like, we don't know exactly what happened. We don't know the nature of a lot of this stuff. The other thing another thing is the Wu-Tang Han lab taking a leak hypothesis. I still believe it's true. I mean, that's what we know. Or, you know, maybe it's worse than that. Who knows? But there's all the signs that point to that too. So that's what I'm trying to say is I want to have more empathy for people. I want to have more empathy for people. I want to have more. It's not only for self. I mean, obviously, it's partly for selfish reasons. Social currency, social value, social capital. You know, that's something that sometimes I'm not the best at having in my life. I'll be honest. You know, especially at this advanced age. So it kind of sucks. But so what he tried to do. Say, I have a really good friend who's like trying to get into the film business, and he's at a what am I trying to say? I'm going to try to say this in the best way. He's at an advanced age that is approaching a big 5-0. You know, he's going to be, you know, he's pushing 50. I'm just fucking straight out. And it's like, well, you don't have a lot of connections. You don't have a lot of people. You know, it's really hard to get your shit together at that age or this age, you know, whatever. And so that lack of social capital, you know, that lack of social currency. So some of it's because, you know, I don't want to be like, but I don't want to seem like a fucking, you know, intolerable sociopathic asshole that lacks empathy. Obviously it's not me, but people do perceive things from what they hear. But I think I have had a lack. I was so radical and so crazy about this subject that I did have that. Now, I'm going to turn around and say, and try to aim my efforts of this whole issue, because I questioned a lot of things. I did a lot of videos. I read a lot of books. I read a lot of articles, watched a lot of videos, read a lot of studies. Astrology, like, it's going to end, man. Austin Kopuk says, you know, the cycles are going to end, and it did, but, you know, he was right. But, you know, I don't know if that's circumstantial or not, but, you know, the thing is, I do know that people suffered tremendous losses from this, and I don't want to just be this person the rest of my life that, you know, would never account for that horrible thing, these horrible things that happen. And I do believe that it was, you know, it was bad in some respects for a long time. Now, I don't think there's anything we could have really done about it other than some of the stuff we tried to do that didn't really work anyways, in a way. But I don't think you should restrict people's civil liberties for that. And I think people did get off on the power, like Gruesome Newsom. Definitely got you know, some people like that definitely got off on the power, I think, on some level at least, maybe not consciously. But yeah, I don't believe for one second that people didn't die or didn't have tremendous losses. And I just wanted to say that. I just want to get that out there because I just don't feel right at this point in time to just dismiss all that. Because I did at times. I'm like, oh, first few weeks I didn't think the fucking thing existed. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's just like, it seems so by the book of these people that have been talking about this for years that I was like, yeah, there's got to be something to this. This is complete, like, wag the dog kind of shit. You know, they're trying to do this thing. Or I don't think it was against Trump because, you know, Trump had his own problems, I think. But, you know, I don't think it was a conspiracy to get Trump. No, I don't believe that. I don't think Trump is that important, unfortunately, for people that are fans of Trump, for them to do that too. So yeah, I think he is important to these people, but not that they would, whole world would collude in that way. So no, what I was trying to say before, and I got off rails, I'm focusing my efforts to point out hypocrisy, and I am never going to stand that down. I'm never going to deny that I was right in pointing out the hypocrisy of these people that were doing these things. The BLM right after they told people that if you went out in public, you were a murderer, you know, all that kind of stuff. You know, it's completely ludicrous kind of stuff that people did throughout the whole thing. They were so oversensitive about it, you know. So I didn't know anybody that died. I probably was irresponsible, unless you believe the social bubbles thing that was in a phase that happened. Like, maybe we could have social bubbles. get tested. If you're around people get tested, but have their social bubble, you don't have to wear a mask. You know, maybe I was in a social bubble. In a way, I was. You know, certain relatives, certain friends. You know, but I already am kind of in a social bubble. But I just couldn't go to